साद्वैतम सावधूतम सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण बालन सगमता श्री विशाखानुतांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण कृष्णाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी चारिणे ऋषि शून्यादि भाष्यादितारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरव हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे सर्वशास्त्रार्थी पीयूष सर्ववेदैक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांतरत्नाढ्य सर्वलोकैकदृक्पद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवत लिथ्वान्तोदिता श्री कृष्ण परिवर्तित परमानंद पाठाय प्रेमवर्षक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्री कृष्णाय नमस्तु मे देक बंधो मत्संगे मद्गुरो मन्मातारक भाग्य मदानंद नमस्तुते साधु साधुता दायेन चोच्चता कर खान मुंच कदाचिन्मां प्रेमणा हृत्कंठयो स्फुर ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय भगवते वासुदेवाय भगवते वासुदेवाय okay 3.23.3 purport let me just this is all here this is she had just got married and she was working sanely and diligently. She pleased her very powerful husband, giving up all lust, pride, envy, greed, sinful activities, and vanity. Right. Here are some of the qualities of a great husband's great wife. Kardama Muni is great by spiritual qualification. Such a husband is called Tejiyamsam. Is referred to as Tejiyamsam. Most powerful. Although a wife may be equal to her husband in advancement in spiritual consciousness, she should not be vainly proud. She should not simply be arrogant and proud. Sometimes it happens that the wife comes from a very rich family, as did Devahuti, the daughter of Emperor Swayambhu Manu. She could have been very proud of her parentage, but that is forbidden. The wife should not be proud of her parental position. She must always be submissive to the husband and must give up all vanity. As soon as the wife becomes proud of her parentage, her pride creates great misunderstanding between the husband and wife, and their nuptial life is ruined. Devahuti was very careful about that. And therefore, it is said here that she gave up pride completely. Devahuti was not unfaithful. The most sinful activity for a wife is to accept another husband or another lover. Chanakya Pandita has described 4 kinds of enemies at home. If the father is in debt, he is considered to be an enemy. If the mother has selected another husband in the presence of her grown-up children, she is considered to be an enemy. If a wife does not live well with her husband but deals very roughly, then she is an enemy. If a son is a fool, he is also an enemy. In family life, father, mother, wife, and children are assets. But if the wife or mother accepts another husband in the presence of her husband or son, then according to Vedic civilization, she is considered an enemy. A chaste and faithful woman must not practice adultery. That is a greatly sinful act. Okay, let's resume from 26. It's
36.
36. 36, 37. Okay. Satam kritamala-snanam bhrajantim apurvavat atmano vivritim rupam samvita ruchirastanim ityadhari sahasrena sevyamanam suvasasam jata bhavo vimanam tad arohayad amitrahan. The sage could see that Devahuti had washed herself clean and was shining forth as though no longer his former wife. She had regained her own original beauty as the daughter of a prince. Dressed in excellent robes, her charming dress duly girded, she was waited upon by 1,000 Gandharva girls. O destroyer of the enemy, his fondness for her grew, and he placed her on the aerial mansion. Darshini, Samunihi, Atmano Rupam, Vivahat Prak Yadrishamasi, Taddeva Punarvibhritim. So she was as charming as how she was before their wedding. Samvaito pravrato ruchirastano yasyastam napumsakapathe rupa visheshanam Mitrahan Jitakam. Mitrahan, or destroyer of the enemy, means or destroyer of the enemy lust. Vidura. Maitreya speaking to Vidura. Before her marriage, when Devhuti was brought by her parents, before the sage Kardama, she was the perfectly beautiful princess. And Kardamani remembered her former beauty. But after her marriage, when she was engaged in the service of Kardamani, she neglected to care for her body like a princess, since there was no means for such care. For such care. Her husband was living in a cottage, and since she was always engaged in serving him, her royal beauty disappeared, and she became just like an ordinary maidservant. Now, after being bathed by the Gandharva girls by order of Karzamuni's yogic power, she regained her beauty, and Karzamuni felt attracted to the beauty she had shown before the marriage. The real beauty of a young woman is her breasts. When Karzamuni saw the breasts of his bride so nicely decorated, increasing her beauty many times, he was attracted, even though he was a great sage. Sripad Shankaracharya has therefore warned the transcendentalists that one who is after transcendental realization should not be attracted by the raised breasts of a woman, because they are nothing but an interaction of fat and blood within the body. So even though he was a great sage, he got attracted. Therefore, all of us should be careful. 38. Tasminna lupta mahima priyayanu rakto vidyadhari virchirna vapur ane babhraja utkacha kumud Ganavan api yastarabhiravrita ivodupatir ahastha. Though seemingly attached to his beloved consort, while served by the Gandharva girls, the sage did not lose his glory. Tasmin alupta mahima. Alupta mahima. The sage did not lose his glory, which was mastery over himself. In the aerial mansion, Karzamuni with his consort shone as charmingly as the moon in the midst of the stars in the sky, which causes a rows of lilies to open in ponds at night. Vabhraje, actually. It looks like, let me just check this is what, 30, 36, 37 is together, 38. Vabhraja. Why does it say Vabhraje? Vabhraje. Krishna Chakratika reads it as Vabhraje. Sridhar Swami also reads it as Vabhraje. Vabhraje. I think it's Atmanepadi. Vabhraje. It might be Udhayapadi also. Okay, Tasmin Vimane Munir Vabhraje. The sage shone in that Vimana, in that aerial mansion. Puchirnam. Shushrushitam Vapuryasya Saha. Upuchirnam. The Gandharva girls were serving his body, were serving him. Vikasit Kumud Pranavan Apivyaha Isundara. Purnachandra Eva Munihi Nabha Eva Vimanam Tara Eva Tastriyaha Umudani Eva Tasam Netrani Itigeya. Here, the sage is compared to a full moon. The sky itself is compared to, the Vimana, airplane. Airplane is considered to be the sky. All those ladies are compared to stars. And their eyes are compared to lotuses. The mansion was in the sky, and therefore the comparison to the full moon and stars is very beautifully composed in this verse. Karzamani looked like the full moon, and the girls who surrounded his wife seemed just like the stars. On a full moon night, the stars and the moon together form a beautiful constellation. Similarly, in that aerial mansion in the sky, Karzamani with his beautiful wife and the damsels surrounding them appeared like the moon and stars on a full moon night. 39. तेनाष्टलोकपविहार कुलाचलेन्द्र द्रोणीष्वनंग सख मारुत सौभगासु सिद्धेर्नुतो द्युधुनि पात शिवस्वनासु रेमे चिरम धनदवल लनावरुति. In that aerial mansion, he traveled to the pleasure valleys of Mount Meru, which were rendered all the more beautiful by cool, gentle, fragrant breezes that stimulated passion. In these valleys, the treasurer of the gods, Kuvera, surrounded by beautiful women and praised by the Siddhas, generally enjoys pleasure. Kardama Muni also, surrounded by the beautiful damsels and his wife, went there and enjoyed for many, many years. Tena Vimanena Reme. So he enjoyed using his aerial mansion. Valachala Indraha Meruhu, Dyudhuhu, Dyudhu, what is this? Dyudhunir Ganga. Dyudhunir. That should be together. Yes. Sorry. Ganga. Tasya urdhvataha patena shivaha swanaha yasutasu lalna samupava. Kuvera is one of the 8 demigods who are in charge of different directions of the universe. It is said that Indra is in charge of the eastern side of the universe, where the heavenly planet or paradise is situated. Similarly, Agni is in charge of the southeastern portion of the universe. Yama, the demigod who punishes sinners, is in charge of the southern portion. Nirriti is in charge of the southwestern part of the universe. Varuna, the demigod in charge of the waters, is in charge of the western portion. Vayu, who controls the air and who has wings to travel in the air, is in charge of the northwestern part of the universe. And Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, is in charge of the northern part of the universe. All these demigods take pleasure in the valleys of Mount Meru, which is situated somewhere between the sun and the earth. In the aerial mansion, Kardama Muni traveled throughout the 8 directions controlled by the different demigods described above. See, Ashtalokapa Vihara. We went to the pleasure grounds of the 8 predominating deities. Lokapa means Lokapala. Lokapala is a particular post. There are 8 particular demigods who have been enlisted here. They are the Lokapalas. Okay. And as the demigods go to Mount Meru, he also went there to enjoy life. When one is surrounded by beautiful young girls, sex stimulation naturally becomes prominent. Kardama Muni was sexually stimulated and he enjoyed his wife for many, many years in that part of Mount Meru. But his sex indulgence was praised by many, many siddhas, beings who have attained perfection, because it was intended to produce good progeny for the good of universal affairs. 40. Vaishrambhake Surasane Nandane Pushpabhadrake Manase Chaitra Rathyeja Sare me Ramaya Rataha. Satisfied by his wife, he enjoyed in that aerial mansion, not only on Mount Meru, but in different gardens known as Vaishrambhaka, Surasana, Nandana, Pushpabhadraka, and Chaitra Rathya, and by the Manasa Sarovara lake. Vaishrambhaka Adishu, Deva Udyaneshu. These are all, except Manasa or Manasa Sarovara. The remaining are actually gardens for the Devas. Manase Sarasi, Manasa Sarovara is a lake. Brajishnuna Vimanena Kamagena Mahiyasa Vaimanikan Atyasheta Charallokan Yatha Nilaha. He traveled in that way through the various planets as the air passes uncontrolled in every direction, coursing through the air in that great and splendid aerial mansion, which could fly at his will. He surpassed even the demigods. Atyasheta, Atikrantavan, he surpassed even the demigods. The planets occupied by the demigods are restricted to their own orbits, but Kardama Muni, by his yogic power, could travel all over the different directions of the universe without restriction. The living entities who are within the universe are called conditioned souls. That is, they are not free to move everywhere. We are inhabitants of this earthly globe. We cannot move freely to other planets. In the modern age, man is trying to go to other planets, but so far he has been unsuccessful. It is not possible to travel to any other planets because, by the laws of nature, even the demigods cannot move from one planet to another. So, there's a reason why these kind of descriptions appear in Bhagavatam. Kardama Muni was specially blessed by Lord Shukla to such an extent that he could enjoy better than the demigods. This only comes by Lord Vishnu's special blessings. So, to point this out, these particular descriptions are there in Bhagavad. But Kardama Muni, by his yogic power, could surpass the strength of the demigods and travel in space in all directions. The comparison here is very suitable. The words yatha anilaha indicate that as the air is free to move anywhere without restriction, so Kardama Muni unrestrictedly traveled in all directions of the universe. 42, and that very point is brought out here. Kim durapadanam desham pumsamuddama chetasam erashitas tirthapadas charanom yasanat. What is difficult to achieve for determined men who have taken refuge of the Supreme Personality of God is His feet. His feet are the source of sacred rivers like the Ganges, which put an end to the dangers of mundane life. Uddama chetasam tat charanat anyatra abadham manasam. So what is difficult to achieve for determined men? Men whose minds are determined. It means those whose minds are not fixed on anything other than the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they have taken refuge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's lotus feet, and they are determined to be in that position only. The words Yair Ashritas Tirthapadas Charana are significant here. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Tirthapada. The Ganges is called the sacred river because it emanates from the toe of Vishnu. The Ganges is meant to eradicate all the material distresses of the conditioned souls. Therefore, nothing is impossible for any living entity who has taken shelter of the holy lotus feet of the Lord. Kardama Muni is special, not because he was a great mystic, but because he was a great devotee. Therefore, it is said here that for a great devotee like Kardama Muni, nothing is impossible. Although yogis can perform wonderful feats, as Kardama has already displayed, Kardama was more than a yogi because he was a great devotee of the Lord. Therefore, he was more glorious than an ordinary yogi. As it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, out of the many yogis, he who is a devotee of the Lord is first class. For a person like Kardama Muni, there is no question of being conditioned. He was already a liberated soul and better than the demigods, who are also conditioned. Although he was enjoying with his wife and many other women, he was above material conditional life. Therefore, the word Yasanatyaya is used to indicate that he was beyond the position of a condition. So, Yasanatyaya. So, he has experienced that the lotus feet of the Lord could vanquish all dangers. He was transcendental to all material limitations. 43. Prakshitva bhuvogolam patnyayavan swasamsthaya bahvascharya mahayogi swashramaya nyavartata. After showing his wife the globe of the universe and its different arrangements, full of many wonders, the great yogi Kardama Muni returned to his own hermitage, Golam, Mandalam. Bhugolam means Bhumandalam. Swasamsthaya, Dvipa Varshadi Rachanaya, Yavan Tavantam. So he had shown the entire Bhumandala along with the various Dvipas, Varshas, and so on. All the planets are here described as Gola, round. Gola literally Gola means round. Every planet is round and each planet is a different shelter. Now, this appears to be the human experience. This is how we experience these dvipas. Again, this is dealt with in that Sadapata Prabhu's book. I've already compiled all that information in one of the appendixes to the fourth canto of Valmiki Ramayana. Every planet is round and each planet is a different shelter, just like islands in the great ocean. Planets are sometimes called Dvipa or Varsha. This Earth planet is called Bharata Varsha because it was ruled by King Bharata. Another significant word used in this verse is Bahvascharya, many wonderful things. This indicates that the different planets are distributed all over the universe in the 8 directions, and each and every one of them is wonderful in itself. Each planet has its particular climatic influences and particular types of inhabitants, and is completely equipped with everything, including the beauty of the seasons. In the Brahma Samhita 5.40, similarly stated, Bhuti Bhinna. What is this verse? Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Koti Shvashesha Sudhati Vibhuti Bhinnam. Prabhupada generally interprets Vasudhadi Vibhuti Bhinnam as a single word. Or else it can be Vasudhadi and Vibhuti Bhinnam can be taken separately. Vibhuti Bhinnam has to be interpreted as Bahuvrihi. Anyway, this is how Prabhupada explains it. Vibhuti Bhinnam. On each and every planet, there are different opulences. It cannot be expected that one planet is exactly like another. By God's grace, by nature's law, each and every planet is made differently and has different wonderful features. All such wonders were personally experienced by Kardama Muni while with his wife. Yet he could return again to his humble hermitage. He showed his princess wife that although he was living in the hermitage, he had the power to go everywhere and do anything by mystic yoga. That is the perfection of yoga. One cannot become a perfect yogi simply by showing some sitting postures. Nor by such sitting postures or so-called meditation can one become God, as is being advertised. Foolish persons are misled into believing that simply by some caricature of meditation and sitting postures, one can become God within 6 months. Here is the example of a perfect yogi. He could travel all over the universe. Similarly, that's a description of Durvasa Muni, who also traveled in space. Actually, the perfect yogi can do that. But even if one can travel all over the universe and show wonderful feats like Kardama Muni, he cannot be compared to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose power and inconceivable energy can never be attained by any conditioned or liberated soul. This is a key point that is brought out by not only our acharyas, but even the leading acharyas of the other Vaishnava lines also. Supreme Personality of Godhead is superior to both the conditioned souls and liberated souls. And the standard evidence that is used is Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, from Dvav Vimo Purushaloke. From that. Superior to conditioned souls, liberated souls, ever liberated souls also. By the actions of Kardama Muni, we can understand that in spite of his immense mystic power, he remained a devotee of the Lord. That is the real position of 44. Vibhajya navadhatmanam manavim suratotsukham ramam nirramayan reme varshapugan muhurtavat. After coming back to his hermitage, he divided himself into 9 personalities just to give pleasure to Devahuti, the daughter of Manu, who was eager for sex life. In that way, he enjoyed with her for many, many years, which passed just like a moment. Navadha, Navaprabhedena, Atmanam Tatva. He expanded himself into 9. Here, the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, Devahuti, is described as Surasot Sukha. After traveling with her husband all over the universe in Mount Meru and the beautiful gardens of the heavenly kingdom, she naturally became sexually stimulated. And in order to satisfy her sexual desire, Kardama Muni expanded himself into 9 forms. Instead of 1, he became 9. And 9 persons had sexual intercourse with Devahuti for many, many years. It is understood that the sexual appetite of a woman is 9 times greater than that of a man. That is clearly indicated. Otherwise, Karza Muni would have had no reason to expand himself into 9. Here is another example of yogic power. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead can expand himself in millions of forms, a yogi can also expand up to 9 forms, but not more than that. Another example is that of Saubhari Muni. He also expanded himself into 8 forms. But however powerful a yogi may be, he cannot expand himself into more than 8 or 9 forms. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, can expand himself into millions of forms, Anantarupa, innumerable, countless forms, as stated in the Brahma Samhita. No one can compare to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by any conceivable, energetic manifestation of power. All right, here's a question. Yes.
So why it is the sexual power of a woman has been done like this 9 times greater?
Okay, so
So actually, when there will be a good family, happy family means there should be balance. But in for human, it is not possible. He is a yogi, so he expanded himself into 9 times.
okay, so
So why the creation happened like that?
why did the creation happen like that? If you have all these propensities, then you are given the body of a woman. There's a reason why particular souls are placed in particular bodies. That is why.
No, then that it may be generally understand that there is a chance of women can become polluted. She may become prostitute.
Yes, correct.
Although she is following the Vedic dharma also, then
Yes, that's what we have to follow very strictly.
no, even though she is following, there may be chances because
Yes.
she cannot be satisfied by one husband.
No, therefore, she has to, if she follows the regulations of a chaste woman, when you follow the rules and regulations, common duties and specific duties, you become free from lust, anger, greed. Therefore, all these arrangements are there. Both the husband and wife become free from lust, anger, and greed. You don't follow, then you become fall trap. Then woman will fall down. That is why for men there is arrangement for sannyasa and all these things. Because otherwise you'll fall. You'll degrade, 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 degrade.
Okay, bro.
Okay, another question.
Prabhu, Karda Muni went to heavenly abodes. There also he enjoyed. Then again in hermitage also he expanded. But we know that sex was only for procreation, and he was having maybe some daughters and one Lord Kapila. So at max 10 times this physical union. So
There
for
are
many,
rules.
many.
These are rules for human beings. He's not a human being. He's a rishi. It's a direct son of Brahma. Our rules cannot be superimposed on a superior species of life.
Oh.
He is higher to even demigods. Demigods come later, no? He is Brahma's son.
Oh, but Devahuti, Mother Devahuti is a human.
That is out of his
Eh?
liberal nature that he accepted an arrangement like this. He actually does not need a wife in order to even produce people. No, he just created those Gandharva girls. He could have created some children also,
Mm-hmm. So
but he
it was
was
all to satisfy Mother Devahuti. That's all.
His Devahuti, is a wife. She has served him for so many years, so faithfully. So he wants to keep her happy. That's all. What is that?
Okay, bro.
Okay, another question.
Prabhu, then this means that the woman can never become a brahmacharini, right?
Can never become a,
Brahmacharini
what is a brahmacharini?
means that
What is a
there is no brahmacharini system for them. Brahmacharya
correct?
life.
Yes, correct.
But we see some women are there. They don't get married even though they
That
are
is allowed.
living.
That is allowed. Vedic Shastra allows that. If a woman can be like that, if she can be completely devoted to spiritual life and austerities, that is allowed. It's not prohibited. It's allowed, but it is not generally encouraged because it is too risky. It is too risky.
Yeah. So even though they are not devotees, still I heard that some women are there. They don't get married only, but still they are living. And also there are some ashramas where they are following
No, but it
without
is opposite.
marrying.
It is widows are expected to be celibate. Um, After a husband takes sannyas, also a wife is considered to be a widow in Vedic civilization. She is expected to be celibate.
Yeah. Still, I simply wonder that how then these people are living alone. If there could be no chance that they cannot be alone, still they are living alone.
What is it? There's no chance. Who's saying there's no chance?
From here we can understand that because of their sexual desires 9 times greater.
So therefore, through spiritual austerities, then you have to get out of it.
Okay,
I don't
Prabhu.
understand what is the great confusion about.
No, actually, some women are there. They are materially living life, but still they are not married. They are living alone.
Okay, there are so many people
Like
around the
like
world who
not
are living like that.
what is her name? I'm just forgetting.
There are so many who are living like that. So what is the? I don't understand what is the confusion about.
Yeah, the conclusion I feel wonder that how they are living alone. It is
How they
impossible
live alone,
task
that
for
you have to ask
materialistic
them.
people.
They are engaged in austerity, so therefore they have decided to live a celibate life. They've decided to live a celibate life. They're determined. They're fixed.
But that is not
Willpower.
natural, possible task. No,
That is not.
that is not natural. That is impossible task without living a nature Vedic life.
It's okay. They might have executed some great pious activities in the past lifetimes, because of which they, in this life they're able to adjust to that. So maybe two,
Okay.
three lifetimes we can live like that
Oh.
naturally.
So this is the general that they cannot
Everything is
live.
like that. Everything is general only.
Yeah, yeah. So in special cases, some things may happen. So we have to consider like that.
Always. That is Utsarga Pavada. You have general principles and then you have exceptions. Anyway, in today's world, people are engaging in illicit relationships, both men and women. That is a bigger problem. So if somebody gets married and sticks to his wife, and the wife sticks to her husband, that's a very great achievement in today's world.
Yeah,
45.
yes.
Okay, let's move on. 45. Tasmin vimana utkrishtam shayyam ratikarim shvita nacha buddhyata tam kalam patya peach yena sangata. In that aerial mansion, Devahuti, in the company of her handsome husband, situated on an excellent bed that increased sexual desires, could not realize how much time was passing. Sex indulgence is so enjoyable for materialistic people that when they engage in such activities, they forget how time is passing. Saint Kardama and Devahuti, in their sexual indulgence, also forgot how time was passing by. 46. Evam yoganubhavena dampatyo ramamanayo shatam vyati yuh sharada kamalalasayor manak. While the couple who eagerly longed for sexual pleasure were thus enjoying themselves by virtue of mystic powers, 100 autumns passed like a brief span of time. Manak, ishadiva vyatiyu, like a brief span of time. 47. Tasyama dhattaretastam bhavayan atmanatma vit. Bhavayan atmanatma vit. Nodha vidhaya rupam swam. Sarva sankalpa vid vibhuhu. The powerful Kardamani was the knower of everyone's heart. And he could grant whatever one desired. Knowing the spiritual soul, he regarded her as half of his body. Dividing himself into 9 forms, he impregnated Devahuti into 9 discharges of semen. Atmana Atmavit. Tam Striyam Bhavayan Niti Adhana Kale Stri Dhyanena Stri Apatyam Syat. Iti Tasyaha Stri Apatya Kamanam Janan Nityarthaha. Kamanam Janan. So he knew that she wanted girls. And therefore, at the time of conception, he meditated on her, woman. Atmana, buddhya, atmavid, viraktaha iti tasya kama alpatvad, shukra alpatvam. He was detached through his intelligence. Therefore, he had lesser sexual desire than hers. And therefore, the seminal discharge was less. Ataha api sri apatyam bhavit. This could be another reason for why one has a female child. Yadukam, as stated. Puman pumso dhike shukre stri bhavatya dhike striyah. Iti. When the semen is greater than one gets a male child. Otherwise, when the woman's discharge is greater than one gets a female child. Nodha, Navadha, Sarva Sankalpa Vidti, Tasyaha Bahu Apatya Sankalpam Jananityarthaha. He was the knower of all desires. He was the knower of all desires. He could grant whatever one desired. This indicates that he knew that she wanted many children. Vibhuhu, Sarvatra Samarthaha. He was Vibhu, powerful. He was capable about everything. Since Kardamani could understand that Devahuti wanted many children, at the first chance he begot 9 children at one time. He is described here as Vibhu, the most powerful master. By his yogic power, he could at once produce 9 daughters in the womb of Devahuti. 48. Ataha sa sushuve sadyo Devahuti striyah prajah sarvasta charu sarvangyo lohitot palagandhayaha. Immediately afterward, on the same day, Devahuti gave birth to 9 female children, all charming in every limb and fragrant with the scent of the red lotus flower. What is this sada? Something wrong. Cannot be sada. It must be sadhyaha. Sadhyaha. Not sada. Sadhyaha. Ekasmineva hani. Just in one day. Devahuti was too sexually excited and therefore she discharged more ova. And 9 daughters were born. It is said in the Smriti Shastra as well as in the Ayurveda that the discharge of the male is greater, male children are begotten. But when the discharge of the female is greater, female children are begotten. It appears from the circumstances that Devahuti was more sexually excited, and therefore she had 9 daughters at once. All the daughters, however, were very beautiful, and their bodies were nicely formed. Each resembled a lotus flower, was fragrant like a lotus. 49. Patim sa pravrajishyantam tada lakshyo shati bahihi smayamana viklavena hridayena viduyata. When she saw her husband about to leave home, she smiled externally, but at heart she was agitated and distressed. Pravrajishyanta. Going to leave home means he's going to become a parivrajaka, going to become a renunciant. Where is this? Smayamana, smiling. Iti patidarshana swabhava vasutastu viklavena vyakulena viduyamanena chittavi. Chittavi? What is it? Chittavi. Chintavi. Ityarthaha. So it was natural for her to smile when she saw her husband because that she was accustomed to pleasing the husband. Husband should always be happy when he sees his wife. Therefore, the wives, they would be always smiling and so on. But factually, internally, she was overwhelmed by anxiety. Karadamani finished his household affairs quickly by his mystic power. The building of the castle in the air, traveling all over the universe with his wife in the company of beautiful girls, and begetting of children were finished. And now, according to his promise to leave home for his real concern of spiritual realization after impregnating his wife, he was about to go away. Seeing her husband about to leave, Devahuti was very disturbed, but to satisfy her husband, she was smiling. The example of Karadamani should be understood very clearly. A person whose main concern is Krishna consciousness, even if he is entrapped in household life, should always be ready to leave household enticement as soon as possible. Likhantyatho mukhi bhumim padanakamanishriya uvacha lalitam vacham nirudhyashru kalam shanai. She stood and scratched the ground of her foot, which was radiant with the luster of her gem-like nails. Her head bent down. She spoke in slow yet charming accents, suppressing her tears. Devahuti was so beautiful that her toenails appeared just like pearls. And as she scratched the ground, it appeared as if pearls had been thrown on the ground. When a woman scratches the ground with her foot, it is a sign that her mind is very disturbed. Duranta Chinta Lakshanam. These signs were sometimes exhibited by the gopis before Krishna. When the gopis came in the dead of night and Krishna asked them to return to their homes, the gopis also scratched the ground like this because their minds were very disturbed. 51. Devahuti Ravacha. Sarvam tad bhagavan mahyam upovaha pratishrutam. Athapi me prapannaya abhayam datumarhasi. See, Devahuti said, my Lord, you have fulfilled all the promises you gave me. Yet because I am your surrendered soul, you should give me fearlessness too. Upovaha. Upovaha. Sampaditavam has been fulfilled. You have fulfilled all the promises. Devahuti requested her husband to grant her something without fear. And see this concept of fearlessness, abhayam. Abhayam is experienced when one becomes a genuine sannyasi. So her the point that she's making is now you are going to be in this position of fearlessness. You should also grant me this fearlessness. It's only a prayer, it's not a demand. Devahuti requested her husband to grant her something without fear. As a wife, she was a fully surrendered soul to her husband. And it is the responsibility of the husband to give his wife fearlessness. How one awards fearlessness to his subordinate is mentioned in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. One who cannot get free from the clutches of death is dependent. And he should not become a spiritual master, nor a husband, nor a kinsman, nor a father, nor a mother, etc. It is the duty of the superior to give fearlessness to the subordinate. To take charge of someone, therefore, either as father, mother, spiritual master, relative, or husband, one must accept the responsibility to give his body freedom from the fearful situation of material existence. Material existence is always fearful and full of anxiety. Devahuti is saying, you have given me all sorts of material comforts by your yogic power. And since you are now prepared to go away, you must give me your last award so that I may get free from this material conditional life. 12. Brahman Bruhutrubhistubhyam Vimrigyah Patayas Samah Kaschit Syan me Vishokaya Tvayi Pravrajjite Vanam. My dear Brahmana, as far as your daughters are concerned, they will find their own suitable husbands and go away to their respective homes. But who will give me solace after your departure as a sannyasi? So husbands need to be found for these daughters. And then they will, suitable husbands, of course. So they will have to go away. The idea is they cannot stay. Girls have to go away to their respective husbands' homes. So who's going to take care of me after you become a sannyasi? Tubhyam tava swayamav vimurgya ityasam vivaha chinta api me na asti iti bhavaha. Your daughters, they will naturally find their husbands. So I'm not bothered about how to get them married. Vishokaya, shoka durikaranaya, tena kamapi yogyam putramapi tvattaha aham prapnayam. But I should have a son, a fit son, an appropriate son, who can remove my distress. Iti kripaya katichit dinani tishtha iti bhava. So she is implying, please stay for a few more days. Stay for a few days. It is said that the father himself becomes the son in another form. The father and son are therefore considered to be non-different. A widow who has a son is actually not a widow because she has a representative of her husband. Similarly, Devahuti is indirectly asking Kharda Muni to leave a representative so that in his absence, she might be relieved of her anxieties by a suitable son. A householder is not expected to remain at home for all his days. After getting his sons and daughters married, a householder can retire from household life, leaving his wife in the charge of the grown-up sons. That is the social convention of the Vedic system. Devahuti is indirectly asking that in his absence from home, there be at least one male child, give her relief from her anxieties. This relief means spiritual instruction. Relief does not mean material comforts. So the idea is that she wanted a son, but that son's, I don't want a son who gives me material comforts, who gives me a nice place to live, maids to take care of me, and so on. She wants a male child who is capable of giving her spiritual instruction, which will have effect. Material comforts will end with the end of the body, but spiritual instruction will not end. It will go on with the spirit soul. Instruction and spiritual advancement is necessary. But without having a worthy son, how could Devahuti advance in spiritual knowledge? It is a duty of the husband to liquidate his debt to his wife. The wife gives her sincere service to the husband, and he becomes indebted to her because one cannot accept service from his subordinate without giving him something in exchange. See, this is a basic principle. One cannot accept service from a subordinate without giving him something in exchange. The spiritual master cannot accept service from a disciple without awarding him spiritual instruction. That is the reciprocation of love and duty. Thus, Devahuti reminds her husband, Kharda Muni, that she has rendered him faithful service. Even considering the situation on the basis of liquidating his debt toward his wife, he must give a male child before he leaves. Indirectly, Devahuti requests her husband to remain at home a few days more, or at least until a male child is born. Okay. 53. एतावतालं कालेन व्यतिक्रांतेन मे प्रभो इन्द्रियार्थ प्रसंगेन परित्यक्त paratmanaha. Until now, we have simply wasted so much of our time and sense gratification, neglecting to cultivate knowledge of the Supreme Lord. Neglecting to cultivate knowledge, understanding, and realization of the Supreme Lord. Knowledge always implies understanding and realization. Unless the context specifies, it's only theoretical knowledge. Nanu kimetad ukti bhangya punarapi maktah vishaya sukham vanchasi iti tatra salajamaha. Then she anticipates that he would say, what is all this indirect talk? Again you want sense enjoyment. So then she shyly speaks this. Etavata kalena saha indriyartha prasangah tena alam yatah parityakha paraha atma parameshwaraha yaya tasya iti tena etavan kalaha me vyartha eva gatah iti bhava. So long there has been only sense enjoyment. But we have neglected to cultivate knowledge of the Supreme Personality of God. So much of time has been wasted. That is why this chapter is called Lamentation of Devahuti. It is her lamentation. One should be yeah. One should be yeah. Anyway, okay. Human life is not meant to be wasted like that of the animals in sense gratificatory activities. Animals always engage in sense gratification, eating, sleeping, fearing, and but that is not the engagement of the human being. Although because of the material body, there is need of sense gratification according to a regulative principle. So the whole scheme in Vedic culture is, if you want sense enjoyment, accept it under regulation. Like for instance, eating means you eat at specific times, during specific occasions. You can eat more. Like that, it's all regulated. Initially, instantly, one is not ordered to restrict. Initially, there is some regulation. Then after you're accustomed to that regulation, then the next step comes in the form of restrictions. So there's a need of sense gratification according to a regulative principle. So in effect, Devahuti said to her husband, so far we have these daughters and we have enjoyed material life in the aerial mansion, traveling all over the universe. These boons have come by your grace, but they have all been for sense gratification. Now there must be something for my spiritual advancement. '54. Indriyartheshu sajjantya kusangastvai me kritah ajanantya parambhavam tathapyastva bhayaya me. Not knowing your transcendental situation, I have loved you while remaining attached to the objects of the senses. Nonetheless, let the affinity I have developed for you rid me of all fear. Mahabhagavatasya tava kshanikena api sangena lokaha nisaranti. Nistaranti. Nistaranti. People become delivered even by a moment's association with you, a Mahabhagavata. Mamatu etavad, but for me, etavad varshikena api yat nistaraha na abhut. But even after so many years of my association with you, I have not been delivered from material delusions and so on. Tatra etadeva hetudvayam ityaha. There are two reasons for that, and she brings it out here. Indriyartheshu iti param bhavam tava evam mahavishesham महाभागवतत्वं च यत् क्षणमात्रेणेव सर्वं मता आस्पदं त्यक्तुं प्रवृत्तः असि इति भावः तथापि इति तदपि मयि अपराधिन्यां कृपां कुरु इति भावः. See, I have not been fixed on the spiritual platform. That is actually my offense. She conveys that. Please be merciful to me. You are so greatly renounced. Mahavishesham, Mahavairagya. Yeah. I do not know that you are so greatly renounced and that you are a Mahabhagavata. I could have uh, understood you, but I did not. Just within a moment, you have given up all your feelings of possession towards me, and you are going away. You are such a great soul. Still, please have some mercy upon me. Devahuti is lamenting her position. As a woman, she had to love someone. Somehow or other, she came to love Kardama Muni, but without knowing of his spiritual advancement. Kardama Muni could understand Devahuti's heart. Generally, all women desire material enjoyment. They are called less intelligent because they are mostly prone to material enjoyment. Devahuti laments because her husband had given her the best kind of material enjoyment, but she did not know that he was so advanced in spiritual realization. Her plea was that, even though she did not know the glories of her great husband, because she had taken shelter of him, she must be delivered from material entanglement. Association with a great personality is most important. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya says that sadhu sangha, the association of a great saintly person, is very important. Because even if one is not advanced in knowledge, simply by association with a great saintly person, one can immediately make considerable advancement in spiritual life. As a woman, as an ordinary wife, Devahuti became attached to Kardama Muni in order to satisfy her sense enjoyment and other material necessities. But actually, she associated with a great personality. Now she understood this and she wanted to utilize the advantage of the association of her great husband. 55. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has quoted this. Sango yas samsruter hetur asatsu vihito dhya saeva sadhushu krito nisangatvaya kalpate. Association for sense gratification is certainly the path of bondage, but the same type of association performed with the saintly person leads to the path of liberation, even if performed without knowledge. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has remarked that the opposite is also true. If one associates with a non-saintly person without knowledge, this without knowledge means, this is what it means. If one associates with a saintly person, not knowing him to be a saintly person, still that association will lead him to the path of liberation. The opposite of that is, if one associates with a non-saintly person without knowledge, that means he's thinking that he is a saintly person, then he is led to the path of bondage. So it is not simply that I imagine this soul to be a great soul, I'm serving him, therefore I'll make spiritual progress. It's not like that. It depends on what is the spiritual status of that person actually. You may knowingly serve him, you may unknowingly serve him. If you knowingly serve a pure devotee while thinking that he's a non-devotee, you will still be benefited. If you knowingly do it or unknowingly do it, that activity of serving a pure devotee will have its effect. Similarly, if one associates with a non-Vaishnava or an impure Vaishnava, whether you imagine him to be a pure Vaishnava or not, the result of associating with that person, which is bondage, will certainly come. Kimche vastu shaktir buddhim na apekshate. The factual potency of different entities has nothing to do with our knowledge, with our conceptions. इति अतः भवद् विद्ध साधु संगः विफलः भवितुं सर्वथा एव न अर्हति. Therefore, the association with the sadhu of your nature does not deserve to become fruitless. That is conveyed in this verse. Adhiya ajnanena api iti ubhetrapi anveti. Ubhetrapi anveti. Whether one associates with a saintly person or a non-saintly person, without knowledge also, one will get the effect. The association of a saintly person in any way bears the same result. For example, Lord Krishna met many kinds of living entities, and some treated him as an enemy and some treated him as an agent for sense gratification. It is generally said that the gopis were attached to Krishna for sense attractions, and yet they became first-class devotees of the Lord. Kamsa, Shishupala, Dantavakra, and other demons, however, were related to Krishna as enemies. But whether they associated with Krishna as enemies or for sense gratification out of fear or as pure devotees, they all got liberation. That is the result of association with the Lord. Even if one does not understand who he is, the results have the same efficacy. Association with a great saintly person also results in liberation. Just as whether one goes toward fire knowingly or unknowingly, the fire will make one warm. Devahuti expressed her gratefulness for although she wanted to associate with Karzamuni only for sense gratification. Because he was spiritually great, she was sure to be liberated by his benediction. 56. Neha yat karma dharmaya na viragaya kalpate na tirtha pada sevaye jivan napi mrito hi sah. Anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life, anyone whose religious ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be considered dead, although he is breathing. There is a question here.
Prabhuji, this is the desirable result which Varnashram has to produce. This is how, after enjoying calm, it leads one to moksha.
Are you asking me something?
Yeah. Was I not audible, Prabhu?
Yeah, you are saying, but I do not know whether you are asking me anything.
Yeah, I was just confirming this, that this is what ideal realization of a Grahastha couple or anyone enjoying sense enjoyment should be.
Yes.
And Prabhu, the kind of effect which Mother Devatu is saying, that she missed to utilize the spiritual benefit from his husband. So same can happen with holy name also, that one may associate with holy name, chant holy name, but he will not get the spiritual benefits despite many years.
Yeah, for association there are terms and conditions. If one chants the holy name with faith, following the rules and regulations, then he will attain the results quickly. Otherwise, the holy name will drag us to the point when we become sufficiently knowledgeable about the glory of the holy name. But that will take some lifetimes. But one will come to that point if one does not commit offenses. If one commits offenses, then it's a problem. Because you're doing the opposite.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay.
Okay, this 56, this is also quoted by Bhakti-vaibhava Thakur. Nanu kim evam nirvidyase tava etavati sampattihi atah vishayan bhunksva iti tatraha neheti. And then she anticipates that her husband would say, oh, why are you now becoming so detached, filled with distress? You have so much of prosperity. So enjoy these sense objects. So then in response to that, she speaks the current verse. Yasya karma dehendriyadi vyaparaha dharmadyartham na bhavet. Anyone whose work or whose activities of bodies, senses, and so on does not bring about, it is not aimed at attaining pious credits, if it is not aimed at attaining detachment, vairagya, if it is not aimed at attaining service to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, then that person's life is as good as death. Devahuti's statement is that since she was attached to living with her husband for sense gratification, which does not lead to liberation from material entanglement, her life was simply a waste of time. Any work one performs that does not lead to the state of religious life is useless activity. So this is the first step. One has to come to the point of dharma. Means he has to come to the point where he no longer engages in adharma. Everyone is by nature inclined to some sort of work, and when that work leads one to religious life, and religious life leads one to renunciation. The next step is one has to come to the point of not just dharma, but even material dharma is rejected. Only spiritual dharma is accepted. This is the state of renunciation. Internal detachment, external renunciation. Uninterruptedly. First step is uninterrupted. One becomes uninterruptedly dharmic. Then one becomes uninterruptedly dharmic and uninterruptedly renounced. Virakta. And renunciation leads one to devotional service. Then the third step is uninterruptedly dharmic, uninterruptedly virakta, and uninterruptedly bhakta, a devotee of the Lord. Prior to that, we engage in devotional service, but it is not uninterrupted. One attains the perfection of work. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, any work that does not lead ultimately to the standard of devotional service is a cause of bondage in the material world. Vidyarthat karmanon yatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Unless one is gradually elevated to the position of devotion service, beginning from his natural activity, he is to be considered a dead body. Work which does not lead one to the understanding of Krishna consciousness is considered useless. 57. Saham bhagavato nunam vanchita mayaya dridham yat tvam vimuktidam prapya na mumuksheya bandhanat. My Lord, surely I have been solidly cheated by the insurmountable illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For in spite of having obtained your association, which gives liberation from material bondage, I did not seek such liberation. Tatra udaharanam ahameva ityaha. Now the example for this is I myself. Saham jivan mrita. I myself, I am a living dead. Even though I'm living, I'm actually dead. Na mumuksheya. Moktam ichha matramapi na kritavati. I don't even have the desire to become liberated. Na kritavati asmi iti sa ashru sa gaggada vakyam. This is her faltering speech with tears in her eyes. An intelligent man should utilize good opportunities. The first opportunity is the human form of life. And the second opportunity is to take birth in a suitable family where there is cultivation of spiritual knowledge. This is rarely obtained. The greatest opportunity is to have the association of a saintly person. You see, three opportunities. First opportunity, human body. Second opportunity, you take birth in a suitable family where there is cultivation of knowledge, understanding, and realization of Brahman, Paramatma, which is rare actually. But then there is the third opportunity. Even if the second opportunity is not there, the third opportunity is there. Things can be adjusted with some hard work. The greatest opportunity is to have the association of a saintly person. Devahuti was conscious that she was born as the daughter of an emperor. She was sufficiently educated and cultured. And at last she got Kardama Muni, a saintly person and a great yogi as her husband. Still, if she did not get liberation from the entanglement of material energy, then certainly she would be cheated by the insurmountable illusory energy. Actually, the illusory material energy is cheating everyone. People do not know what they are doing when they worship the material energy in the form of goddess Kali or Durga for material boons. They ask, Mother, give me great riches, give me a good wife, give me fame, give me victory. But such devotees of the goddess Maya or Durga do not know that they are being cheated by that goddess. Material achievement is actually no achievement. Because as soon as one is illusioned by the material gifts, he becomes more and more entangled, and there is no question of liberation. See, the more we burden ourselves with material prosperity, more and more there will be no question of liberation itself. One should be intelligent enough to know how to utilize material assets for the purpose of spiritual realization. That is called Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga. Whatever we have, we should use as service to the Supreme Person. It is advised in Bhagavad Gita, Swakarmanatamabhyarchya. One should try to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead by one's assets. There are many forms of service to the Supreme Lord, and anyone can render service unto him according to the best of his ability. Swakarmanatamabhyarchya siddhim vindati manavaha. Any human being can attain the highest perfection if he follows the path properly. Okay, next chapter. Chapter 24, the renunciation of Kardama Muni. 1. Maitreya Vacha. Nirvedavadinim evam manordupitaram munihi dayalu shalini maha shukla abhivyahvrittam smaran. Recalling the words of Lord Vishnu, the merciful sage Kardama replied as follows to Swayambhu Manu's praiseworthy daughter Devahuti, who was speaking words full of renunciation. Chaturvimshe janah proktah Kapilasya vidher vachaha anyodvaha Kardamasya pravrajya stutyantara. Stutyantara, is it correct? Stutyanantara. Stutyanantara, correct. So in this 24th chapter, the following topics are described. The birth of Lord Kapila, Lord Brahma's prayers, Lord Brahma's statement to Kapila, his prayers to Kapila, Kardama's daughter's wedding, and Kardama's prayers to Kapila, after which he becomes renounced. He attains pravrajya. He attains sannyasa. Shalinim, shlaghyam, praiseworthy, was worthy of praise. Devahuti was praiseworthy. Shuklena abhivyahritam, sahaham swamshak kalaya ityadi. then he remembered the words of Lord Vishnu, of Lord Shukla, that I myself, I will appear through my plenary portion. I will appear as your son. So now he remembered that. Interesting, he remembered that now, not before. 2. Rishiruvacha. Makhito Rajaputri Tham Atmanam Pratyanindite Bhagavam Steksharo Garbham Madurat Samprapatsyate. The sage said, do not be disappointed with yourself, O princess. You are actually praiseworthy. The infallible Supreme Personality of God will shortly enter your womb as your son. He Anindite. Anindite. What's that? Anindite. Anindite means one who is not subject to any criticism, one who is not worthy of any criticism. Itham ma khidaha, khedam ma karshi. Don't lament in this way. Okay, what is this? There's some question here.
Prabhuji, is there any special significance that this word Shukla, Lord Shukla is used, or Lord is addressed as Lord Shukla?
That's a name. That's a name. Shuklo raktas tathapita idanim krishnatam gataha. Shukla. Shukla is the name of the incarnation for Satya Yuga.
Is he a four-handed Vishnu form? Like in a
Could be. That I don't know, but Shukla is definitely a name of Vishnu.
Okay, bro.
It could be that. That requires some further studies to understand. But I have read elsewhere. Where did I read? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Most probably in his commentary to the 11th canto. He says the Yugavataras, the first Yugavatara was a brahmachari, the second Yugavatara was a grihastha, third Yugavatara was a vanaprastha, the fourth Yugavatara is a sannyasi. There is something there. It's not clear to me. That Shukla might be a different form of Vishnu. Kardama Muni encouraged his wife not to be sorry, thinking herself unfortunate because the Supreme Personality of God by his incarnation was going to come from her body. Text 3. Dhrita vrattasi bhadram te damena niyamena cha tapo dravena danishcha sraddhaya cheshwaram bhaja. You have undertaken sacred vows. God will bless you. Bhadram te. May God bless you. Wow, so nice. Bhadram te literally means may there be auspiciousness unto you. Hence, you should worship the Lord with great faith through sensory control, religious observances, austerities, and gifts of your money and charity. So one should worship the Supreme Lord while doing all these things. First of all, she is already used to taking up vows. So that itself is done. Then control of the senses is needed. Religious observances have to be accepted. Austerities have to be accepted. Then gifts of money with faith should be performed. And then worship of the Lord, that has to be performed. Nacha anya prakriti iva tvam akrita punya. You're not like another. You're not like just an ordinary materialistic woman who has not engaged in any pious activities. Dhrita vratasi, purva janmani krita vratadi niyama asi. Niyama asi. In your previous life, you have engaged in various pious activities, you have engaged in various vows, you have accepted various regulations. Purujana krita vratadi niyamasi. Ataha Iha api janmani te bhadram bhavishyati. Therefore, in this life also you will attain auspiciousness. Because in your past life you have engaged in these pious activities, you naturally the major portion of benefit comes in a later life. In order to spiritually advance or to achieve the mercy of the Lord, one must be self-controlled in the following manner. He must be restrained in sense gratification. He must follow the rules and regulations of religious principles. Without austerity and penance and without sacrificing one's riches, one cannot achieve the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Narada Muni advised his wife, you have to factually engage in devotion service with austerity and penance, following the religious principles and giving charity. Then the Supreme Lord will be pleased with you and he will come as your son. No pain, no gain. Explore. Satpaya radhita shuklo vitanvan mamakam yashaha chettate hridaya granthim audaryo brahma bhavanaha. The personality of God is being worshipped by you will spread my name and fame. He will vanquish the knot of your heart by becoming your son and teaching knowledge of Brahman. Hridaya granthim mahankara lakshanam bandham. He will vanquish the knot of your heart. That means the bondage in the form of false ego. Audaryaha, udarajatihi. He will become your own son, biological son. Brahma bhavanaha, Brahmopadeshta. And he will be a teacher about Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Brahman automatically includes all of that. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes to disseminate spiritual knowledge for the benefit of all people, it generally descends as the son of a devotee, being pleased by the devotee's devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the father of everyone. Therefore, no one is his father. But by his inconceivable energy, he accepts some of the devotees as his parents and descendants. It is explained here that spiritual knowledge vanquishes the knot of the heart. Matter and spirit are knotted by false ego. This identification of oneself with matter, which is called Hridaya Granthi, exists for all conditioned souls and becomes more and more tightened when there is too much affection for sex life. Then explanation was given by Lord Rishabha to his sons that this material world is an atmosphere of attraction between male and female. That attraction takes the shape of a knot in the heart, and by material affection, it becomes still more tight. For people who hanker after material possessions, society, friendship, and love, this knot of affection becomes very strong. It is only by Brahma Bhavana, the instruction by which spiritual knowledge is enhanced, that the knot in the heart is cut to pieces. No material weapon is needed to cut this knot, but it requires bona fide spiritual instruction. Kardama Muni instructed his wife Devahuti that the Lord would appear as her son and disseminate spiritual knowledge to cut the knot of material identification. Okay, so we'll stop with that. We will resume from text number 5 in the next session.
Last 3 days, the next 3 days will be review.
Review of what?
Unit 11.
Okay, wait. Oh, review. Thursday, Friday, Saturday is supposed to be review, and 4th September, Sunday is supposed to be assessment. All right. Okay, fine. Vanchakalpadurvishya kripasindhya eva cha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Okay.